Hello students, I welcome you in today's session of physics. And in physics, as you know very well, we were discussing a topic, atoms, which is your chapter number 26. We had covered out most of its topic, and now today's lecture we have to discuss about Bohr's theory of hydrogen-like atoms. This is your lecture number 2. We had covered its previous topics in our lecture number 1. So let's start it with this from here. Bohr's theory of hydrogen-like atoms. So a hydrogen-like atom consists of a tiny positively charged nucleus and an electron revolving in a stable circular orbit around the nucleus. You can see from this figure number 6. Clear? What's going on here? Let E, M and V be the respectively be the charge, mass and velocity of the electrons, and r be the radius of the orbit. So the positive charge on the nucleus is how much? Ze, and Z is the atomic number. So if hydrogen atom, for hydrogen, if we considering the hydrogen atom, Z is how much? 1, because the atomic number of hydrogen is 1. So as the centripetal force is provided by the electrostatic force of attraction, so you can see here the necessary centripetal force is given by the electrostatic potential. So you can write it this equation, mv square is equal to Ze square by 4 pi epsilon naught multiplied by r. So from this postulate, the angular momentum comes out to be mv square equals to nh upon 2 pi, and in place of n you can write it 1, 2, 3, where n is the quantum number. And squaring second and dividing by equation first, then you will get here the radii equals to how much? R is equals to n square h square epsilon naught pi m z square. So this equation for the radii of permitted orbit, according to this equation, R is totally dependent over the n square. Fine. Now what is the Bohr radius? The radius of the first orbit, if we considering 1 for the hydrogen atom, so it R1 equals to how much? H square epsilon naught pi m e square. This is called the Bohr's radius, and its value is 0.53 angstrom. Now since r is proportional to n square, and radius of the second orbit of hydrogen atom will be 4 multiplied by 0.53 angstrom, and that of the third orbit is 9 multiplied by 0.53 angstrom. Now velocity of electron in a stationary orbit, so we can obtain the formula of the velocity of electron in the permitted orbits using the equation number 2, which we already proved in the above. You can write here v is equals to nh upon 2 pi mr. So putting the value of r from equation third, you will get here v is equals to this. And so here you can see that v is totally inversely proportional to 1 by n. This shows that the velocity of the electron is maximum in its lower orbits, that is 1, and goes on decreasing in the higher orbits. This the velocity of electron in the first orbit of the hydrogen is this much. Its values are almost equal to 2.19 10 to the power 6 meter per second. So if you put here, let us note that v1 by c is equals to 1 by 37. Thus you can see here v1 by c, or e square by 2hc epsilon naught, is a pure number. It is known as the fine structure constant and is denoted by alpha. I hope you understood. Now energy of electron in a stationary orbit. So if you have to find the energy of e electron in an orbit is the sum of its kinetic and the potential energy. The kinetic energy of electron half mv square, and it is equal to, you know very well, electrostatic potential. So the potential energy of the electron in an orbit, R due to the force of attraction by the nucleus, is given by this 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Ze square by R. Fine. And the total energy of the electron is therefore kinetic plus potential. So we can write it like this. So substituting for R in equation third, we get here E is equals to minus mz square e to the power 4 8 epsilon naught square h square multiplied by 1 by n square. So this is the expression for the energy of electron in nth orbit. N is your 1, 2, 3. You can put the values. Now you can see here, suppose in the excited state an electron jump from some higher energy state n2 to a lower energy state n1. In that case you have to subtract the energy levels E2 minus E1, and finally you will get this expression. Now according to the Bohr third postulate, the frequency of the emitted electron wave photon is how much? E2 minus E1 by h. Clear? And this comes out to be this much. The corresponding wavelength of the emitted radiation, this is the corresponding wavelength. Fine. Okay, where 1 upon lambda is called as wave number of waves per unit length. In this last equation here you can put, this is a constant known as Rydberg constant. We can replace it by the Rydberg constant, which is your R. So we can write in place of this, and the wavelength comes out to be 1 by lambda Z square R 1 upon n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. This is the Bohr's formula for hydrogen and hydrogen like atoms. So for hydrogen, if we put Z equals to how much? 1, and this equation changes to 1 upon lambda R 1 by n2 square minus 1 by n1 minus n2 square. And if you have to find the value of Rydberg constant, so it comes out to be 1 multiplied by 10 to the power 7 meter per second. This value fairly agrees with the empirical value obtained experimentally by Balmer. So thus the energy is radiated only when an electron returns from some higher energy orbit to the lower energy orbit. Hence waves of some definite frequency only are radiated from the atoms, because of which line spectrum having only certain discrete wavelength is obtained. So the energy expression from the fourth equation, which we have already found in above, is written in terms of the Rydberg constant in simplified form. So you can find here, this is the energy in terms of the Rydberg constant, and if we put the value of R, H and C and taking 1 electron volt, so the energy comes out to be minus, here you can see 13.6 by n square of eV. This is for the hydrogen atom. Clear? Now this is the, here it is given that the discrete energy levels of the atom. Clear? You can see here this thing we have to discuss. So we have read that for the photoelectric effect and the Compton effect scattering can be explained on the basis of Planck's quantum theory. So according to this theory, the exchange, that is emission and absorption of radiant energy of light, is not continuous. So it takes place by photons of definite energy h nu, where nu is the frequency of radiation and h is the Planck constant. So this shows that the quantity of energy emitted or absorbed by a body can be h nu, 2h nu, 3h nu, not in between these quantity. Now since the light is emitted and absorbed by the atoms, so it means that an atom can have only certain definite amount of energy, or there can only be some definite energy states of the atom. This fact has been experimentally verified by Leonard, Frank and Hertz. So they performed the experiment on mercury vapors, for which the energy was provided by the collision of accelerated electrons. They found that the mercury atom can absorb energy how much? 4.86 electron or 6.67 electron volt. So with the absorption of this much amount of energy, mercury atom are ionized. So with these values, the energy levels of the diagram mercury, you can show see here, this is the energy level diagram of mercury. Fine. This is the ground state, this is your excited states, and this is the ionized state. So at 10.4 electron volt, mercury atoms are ionized. Now this is the excitation and ionization potential. I hope you know very well what is ionization potential. This thing you have already read in the chemistry. The maximum amount of energy required to pull an isolated gaseous atom or pull an electron from an isolated gaseous atom is called its ionization potential. So here it is written that the minimum accelerating potential required to energize or pull an electron on collision can excite atom is called the excitation potential of that atom. Similarly, the minimum accelerating potential which is required to energize an electron which can ionize an atom is called its ionization potential of that atom. So just remember these two definitions, because these are the important ones. So you should know what is the excitation potential and what is the ionization potential. I hope you understood. Now here you can see that the first excitation potential of the mercury atom is at up to 4.86 volt and its ionization potential is 10.4 volt. So just remember this. Now you can see here explanation of the line emission and absorption. This is optional, so I am skipping this and moving to hydrogen spectrum. Just see, this is the hydrogen spectrum. Now hydrogen spectrum was studied systematically by Balmer and consists of discrete bright lines of dark background. So these lines are called H alpha, H beta, H gamma and H delta. So one especially of these lines is that in going from one end to the other, the brightness and the separation between them decreases regularly. So the lines are member of series. This is called the Balmer series. You can see here, these are the different frequencies and the wavelengths given here. Fine. This is the hydrogen spectrum. Now Balmer in 1885 found that the wavelength lambda of these lines can be represented by the following empirical formula. This is the formula, just remember that 1 by lambda is equals to R 1 by 2 square minus 1 by n square. Clear? This is the Balmer hydrogen spectrum. Now where you know very well what is R. R is the Rydberg constant. So this formula gives the wavelength of H alpha, line for n equals to 3, for H beta, line for n equals to 4, and H gamma for 5, and so on. So here are, you can see that there are the few for the Lyman series, Balmer series, Paschen, Brackett and Fund. This thing you already read in the chemistry, so I am not going to the very deep. You have to just remember the formula and the values. Clear? So for the Lyman series, you have to take n is equals to 1. For the Balmer, the second, the Paschen is 3, the bracket is 4 and the fund is 5. Clear? Now here is an explanation given. The different series of the hydrogen spectrum can be explained by the Bohr's theory. So according to the Bohr's theory, if the ionized state of hydrogen atom can be taken as the zero energy level, then the energy of the different energy levels of the atom can be expressed by the following formula: En is equals to minus RHc by n square, where R you know variable is the Rydberg constant and H is your Planck constant and n is the integer of quantum number. So the energy levels of the hydrogen atom you can see here from this figure. This is the energy, and you can see here this is the Balmer series, this is the Paschen, this is bracket, this is full, and the respective value written over there, and this is the energy. So when the atom gets energy from the outside, its electron goes from lower energy level to some higher energy level. That is called the excitation. But it returns from there. I told you earlier that when an electron excites from lower energy to higher energy, then it remain in the another state up to how much second, 10 to the power minus 8 second to the lowest energy level directly, and retaining there 10 to the power minus 8 second, it return back to its lower energy state. Fine. So while returning back, the electron emits energy. You know, when it goes to the higher energy level, it absorb energy, and it will come from higher energy to lower energy, it emit energy. So that is the thing written here. Now suppose two energy levels of hydrogen atom N1 and N2 having energy of E1 and E2 respectively. So if the transition of the atom takes place from the higher energy level N2 to the lower energy level N1, then it will emit a light photon of energy E2 minus E1. Clear? So according to the Planck's theory, you know variable H nu equals to E2 minus E1, and from there you can find out the frequency E2 minus E1 by H. When you use the frequency, and you can also write the energy's value E1 equals to minus RHc by N1 square and E2 this. So nu equals to RHc 1 upon N2 square minus N1 is N1 square minus N2 square. So if the wavelength of the light emitted by the atom be lambda, then V equals to nu equals to C by lambda, and substituting the value of nu in the wave equation, so you will get here this. Now the quantity 1 upon lambda is you know variable, it is called the wave number. So all the series were found in the hydrogen spectrum are explained above equation. Now like for different series we have found out the wave number. For Lyman series, his wave number is equals to this. This thing we have already discussed: Balmer, Paschen, bracket and Fund. So for all different series you can find out the values. Fine. I hope you understood. Now absorption transition of hydrogen atom. I am not going to here, just take from here. Limitations. What are the limitations of Bohr's theory? So the Bohr's theory of hydrogen and hydrogen like atoms has a number of limitations. The first one, it explains the spectra of one electron atoms only, such as hydrogen. So hydrogen isotope, singly ionized helium, doubly ionized lithium. It failed to explain the spectra of multi-electron atoms. So this is the drawbacks, or you can say that this is the limitation of Bohr's. It failed to explain the multi-electrons spectrum. Fine. Now what is the second one? When a spectral line is observed under a high resolving power spectroscope, it is found to be made up a number of closely spaced lines. So Bohr theory does not explain the first fine structure of spectral lines even in the hydrogen atom. Clear? Now come to the third one. Bohr theory does not tell anything about the relative intensity of the spectral lines of an atom. Fine. Now see the fourth one. The theory cannot fully explain the splitting of spectral line into the number of component lines of the magnetic field, that is Zeeman effect. On an electric field, this is a Stark effect. These are the two important effects. Just remember this: magnetic Zeeman effect is in the magnetic field and the Stark effect is in the electric field. Now come to the fifth one. The theory does not explain the distribution of electron in different orbits, and it gives no information about the wave nature of electrons. Fine. Now here you can see this is the Rydberg constant. What is the uses of Rydberg constant? This is the last topic of your chapter. Rydberg constant is used for the determination of ionization energy. There is only one electron in the hydrogen atom, so if this electron leaves the atom is ionized. So the external energy required to ionize the atom is called its ionization energy. Now hydrogen atom normally stay in the lower energy state n equals to 1, where its energy is RH minus 1 square or RHc. So on being ionized, its energy becomes 0. So we have supposed the ionized energy as 0 energy or 0 energy state. So for this n equals to infinite, thus the ionization energy of the hydrogen atom comes out to be 13.6 eV. This is the ionization energy for the hydrogen atom. So you have to just remember this. Now second one, where we use the Rydberg constant, determination of the wavelength. So using the value of r of the wavelength of any line in any series of hydrogen spectrum can be determined by the corresponding formula. For example, suppose we have to find the wavelength of the first line of the Balmer series like this. Clear? And for the second and third line you can find out the value of this. Fine. I hope you understood what I taught you. So this is the end of the chapter, students. We will meet with a new chapter in our next lecture. Till that, do study. Thank you, class. Thank you very much.